Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Espinoza versus Chirino fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Espinoza is 24-0 with 20 KOs and Chirino is 22-1 with 13 KOs. This fight is for the WBO World Featherweight title. Espinoza's last fight was a win via majority decision versus Ramirez, and Chirino's last fight was a win via TKO in round 3 versus Contreras. I know Chirino's like a nickname type thing, but it's what's on the poster for the fight, so I thought I might as well call him that. Chirino's loss came by stoppage in round 2 versus Lara in 2018. This is Espinoza's first fight officially signed with Top Rank, and to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying, of course, for this WBO title, which Espinoza won in dramatic fashion, in unexpected fashion, last time out against Ramirez, in a very, very good fight, a great fight where Espinoza showed so much will, so much heart, so much determination to be able to get through that fight and to be able to get the win as the away fighter after being knocked down early, badly, looking like he was out. Well, he was out on his feet, and then still being able to battle back and showed that even when things were going against him, he was able to turn the tide, weather that kind of storm, and then be able to push through and then still be able to get the victory, which was very, very impressive and has kind of made him go from not a nobody, but a name in which nobody had really heard. And after beating somebody like Ramirez, who was on such a good run, of course Olympian himself, and to then be able to do what he did against him, that is really putting his name out there. And it's surprising that we haven't seen a kind of straightaway rematch between Ramirez and Espinoza, but it seems like it's not really worked out. I'm not really too sure as to why, but Ramirez is seemingly back fighting soon as well, and so we probably will end up seeing a rematch if Espinoza wins this one. But there is other fights available. I think the featherweight division at the moment is in a little bit of an interesting position now that Ramirez obviously lost. That's a big name there, kind of out of it at the moment. Then Lopez is probably the biggest name around in the featherweight division at the moment, with the likes of course, Lee Wood moving up, Josh Warrington moving up, Lara moving up. There's some big names there moving up, and so yeah, the featherweight division probably isn't the best at the moment, but with the likes of Carrington coming through as well, there are big names coming up, and with, of course, Nick Bull being around, and I'm not too sure if he is sticking around at the weight or not, but there is fighters there with Raymond Ford also moving up as well. I suppose that's another big name gone, but it's an interesting time to be a featherweight fighter, and it means fights like these are happening where perhaps it's not really a huge fight, but nonetheless it's given Chirino this opportunity which Espinoza got given, where Chirino hasn't really fought anybody of too big a note, bar Lara back in 2018, which of course he lost. Since then he hasn't really fought anybody of note. Obviously last time out got a stoppage victory, has been getting some half creditable stoppage victories against a lot lesser opponents, and now of course he's now been deserving of this opportunity. He is ranked highly in the rankings, and so it is understandable that he's gotten this opportunity, but perhaps because Espinoza has just signed with Top Rank wanted to give him a fight which on paper was seen as a more winnable fight for him than perhaps the Ramirez rematch is. Also on this card though, this fight is going to be an entertaining fight. I think Cortez versus Nova for the WBO NABO Super Featherweight title. It's, like I say, yeah, another fighter coming through with Top Rank, Cortez into a active super featherweight division at the moment, and if he can beat Nova obviously just about kind of lost against Foster. It was a very close fight. If Cortez can win, and if he can win in impressive fashion, then that would really create a name for himself in the super featherweight division, which, like I said, is doing very well at the moment as well. I think that Nova's going to win via unanimous decision or split decision. I'm going for the upset. I just believe that, first of all, I believe it's going to be very entertaining. Both their styles, I think, are going to gel, and they're really just going to go for a war type fight, which, like I say, is going to be entertaining. But I think Nova's just gonna be able to go into the later rounds more and show something in which Cortez isn't used to. And I think defensive wise, Cortez hasn't been against somebody who has really hit him and put shots onto him, and Nova is going to really let his hands go as he always does. And even into the later rounds, he's still going to be doing that. And I believe Cortez can do that, but I just don't necessarily know if he can deal with that much output coming against him, back against him. Cortez. So yeah, I believe Nova, experience-wise, he'll know what he's doing into the later World Championship rounds, and then he'll be able to get the victory that way, and that's a big return victory for him, which then puts him back into higher rankings into the super featherweight division. Going back to the main event, no Espinoza. Speak about him as a fighter. Of course, his work rate was something which was very, very impressive versus Ramirez. He was throwing bundles of punches going into the later rounds, and that's where he got the knockdown, because he was just kind of outworking Ramirez and was just very much putting the pressure, front foot, wanting the centre of the ring, being that determined guy where even though things weren't really going his way throughout the majority of the fight, he just really wanted to push the tempo into the later rounds, and that's where he got the win. And so it's all credit to his work rate and, high volume. He's got solid movement a lot of the time. He's, like I say, pressure fighter. He'll push you back even when he's hurt, which is just such a crazy kind of attribute to be able to have, to just be able to, even when things are going against him, not to be deterred, to just really kind of bite down on the gum shield and then just push forwards, and then to be able to also push your opponent back when they're in their most confident position because they've just hurt you. It's really impressive to see. He wears you down. He has, of course, that really long reach as well, but he can also fight in a mid-range or in a close range really well. He goes to the body well, and like I say, he can outwork you, like I say, going into the later rounds especially. Negatives about him, of course, he's been hurt. Chirino isn't really a huge puncher, nowhere near really the level of that of Ramirez, so I don't necessarily think he has to be wary of the shots in which he was getting caught with by Ramirez, which were them flush type shots where he kind of maybe lunged in a bit, or when he was switching stances and he got caught. And so I don't necessarily think he's got to be worrying about that, but he has been hurt, and like I say, he was making mistakes, silly mistakes in the earlier rounds, like I say, when he was trying to switch stance, or when perhaps his footwork was a little bit off at times, just mistakes which World Championship level you shouldn't necessarily be doing. He, of course, now has eyes all on him. Last time he was, of course, the underdog, and so he had a lot less pressure on him, but now he has that expectation to go out there and win, and he has all them eyes on him, so perhaps that kind of will to really push forwards when things are getting hard might have gone a little bit. We'll have to wait and see. His head movement can sometimes be a little bit off. He can look a little bit unsure early on at times in the fight. He can struggle against explosive kind of speed, just being able to counteract that. He does have good timing, but yeah, I think against explosive fighters he can struggle. His balance isn't always the best thing. He can have a bit of a weak guard at times, and he can walk onto shots as well. To speak about Chirino as a fighter, his timing is excellent. I think the best thing about him is his counter timing ability. He really capitalizes off your missed shots with counters, or he can also capitalize off counters to his shots. He'll throw a shot which is sometimes a bit of a throwaway, wait for you to counter, and then counter back from that, which is a really impressive thing to have, and that's probably my main feature of him, which I like a lot. He's very good at just being out of range to then be able to, like say, counter from a counter, and he can also put on pressure as well. He's often, in my opinion, does his best work off the front foot, but also can fight nice off the back foot as well. He's got good pouncing attacks, he's got good body work, fast hands, lets his hands go as well, so this could end up going into the later rounds being a bit of a war as well. He has nothing realistically to lose and has got a relatively good sense of balance, perhaps a bit better than that of Espinoza. His negatives, of course, this has been a big step up from recent opponents of his, like I've mentioned, and so that's definitely going to play a factor, and Espinoza now used to fighting these bigger guys going into later rounds. Chirino perhaps not so used to that, and of course he has been stopped, and he has kind of not quit, but has had that in him where he has not really perhaps wanted to dig as deep, or just his corners not really wanted to see any more, and it's just something that Espinoza hasn't had to deal with. He has that lesser power, like I say, he can rush in. He is a little bit of a slower starter than perhaps Espinoza. He has to, like I say, gain that confidence, and then he improves when he gains confidence. But if Espinoza puts it on him and doesn't let him gain confidence, then we'll have to wait and see. But also, because Espinoza doesn't necessarily need confidence to still be able to push you back, that's where perhaps Espinoza has a one-up on Chirino. He has not had to dig as deep, and his front foot combinations can be a little bit off at times. I think the accuracy there can drop a little bit. Espinoza is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Espinoza will win via TKO in round 9. I think it's going to be a good performance from him. I believe he's going to be breaking Chirino down with the longer range shots, and then when he works in close, being able to distribute shots to the body and really let his hands go. And this could be a really kind of a standout performance for Espinoza, and I believe everything goes into his favour to be able to win this one. Chirino might capitalise on Espinoza's mistakes. That's probably the main thing that Espinoza has to worry about, but if he can fix up on their mistakes and be able to perhaps focus up a little bit more at times, then I believe he'll be able to win, and he'll be able to win, like I say, via stoppage and just be too much for Chirino. Then if we could go on to fight, obviously, like I said, the Ramirez one again is probably going to be there. Obviously, we have to wait and see if Ramirez has been affected of the loss and if he can get through his next fight. I don't think the opponent has been announced yet. But other options, Hegai is somebody who is Ukrainian ranked, I believe, top in the WBO rankings, so to get Espinoza another fight that could be made. Or the Carrington one is possibly the biggest fight. Obviously, Top Rank's been building Carrington really nicely, and he has made a big name for himself at the moment, and I don't necessarily know if they're quite ready to put him into a world title fight, but he is ranked highly, and when you look at the names around the WBO rankings, you have Ramirez, Hegai, Chirino, Carrington, so why not put Carrington in there into a fight with Espinoza? I think perhaps this would be his easiest chance for him to win a title in the featherweight division against Espinoza, but nonetheless, I think it would also be a great fight as well. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you didn't need, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.